Today's for a lot of people. We're going to talk a little bit about trauma. Something that, oftentimes gets lumped in with things like depression, right? And anxiety, when everybody's very quick to self-diagnose themselves as PTSD. When you look at yourself and you look at your life and you look at the different things that have happened to you that shape you to who you are now, trauma plays a part. It really, truly does. One of the things that people often forget is the idea that trauma is separate from depression and anxiety. When you start to isolate trauma and look at depression and anxiety as a byproduct, what happens a lot of times is you can start to actually reduce those symptoms when you actually really try to dissect and really get down deep into the actual trauma. The first step for anybody is accepting. You have to accept the fact that things have happened to you. The cliche thing to say is they didn't happen to you, they happened for you. Right? And there's a lot of power behind that. When you shape and you shift your focus from they happened to you to they happened for you, you're already starting to shift them in a positive light. You're already starting to shift them in a way that you start to look at these different events and scenarios that have happened to you, turning them into a positive. What happens is when we go through traumatic things, our bodies are naturally built to preserve themselves, right? You put your hand on a hot stove, right away you feel that, right? There's times in our lives where we've gone through things and we've come out of them and we go, oh, I'm okay. That didn't really affect me at all. You might say that to some people and they'll be like, wow, you're really, really strong. That's amazing that you were able to just go through that and it not affect you. What happens a lot of times is those moments actually have had an impact, but our mind and our bodies have gone into preservation mode, that they don't want to stay in that trauma, in that hurt, and they've compartmentalized it somewhere deep down, dark, somewhere buried. It tells us that we're okay, that we've moved past it, that you're fine, right? I'm fine. But what you don't realize is deep down, wherever that's buried, wherever that compartmentalizes and sits in your subconscious, it's doing things and it's shaping the way you're acting, the way you're feeling to other situations that may not even be correlated or relevant at all. And one of the beautiful things about therapy is you're able to peel back those layers, and you peel back the layers, and you peel back the layers. And then what you find is you find yourself uncovering things that you didn't even realize are affecting your day to day. You don't even realize it. What I encourage anybody to do is to allow yourself the permission to explore that subconscious for yourself. Explore the different events that happen to you. And one of the ways that I do that with a lot of my clients is through what's called exposure therapy. This is hard. This is hard to do. What exposure therapy is, you take a traumatic event. Maybe you lost a loved one. Maybe you went through a really, really, really nasty breakup. Something traumatic that when you sit back and you hear the word trauma, that clicks into your head. Whatever that is. For those of you in chat that want to go through it right now and you want to kind of feel it a little bit, think about one of those moments. Think about when I say the word trauma, whatever that event is that happens the most to you. Okay. Then what I want you to do, and this is the hard part, I want you to take yourself there right now. I want you to take yourself to wherever that trauma happened, wherever you were. And I want you to expose yourself a little bit, hence the name, exposure therapy. Think about that memory. Whatever it is, and it's hard to do. Think about it. Put yourself there. What was around you? What was the environment like? Where were you? What did it feel like? What do you remember that initial response to that trauma? What was that like? Place yourself there. Put yourself in that spot. And then once you're there, I want you to come back to me. Come back to right here, right now. Come back to the present. October 14th, 2021. Put yourself there. Bring yourself here. What do you smell right now? What do you hear right now? Look around you. What's around you right now? Oftentimes when I have a client with me, I'll pull up a mirror. I'll pull out a mirror and I'll have them look in that mirror. And then you realize that you can go back to that event and expose yourself to it again and again and again. But it can't hurt you anymore. It can't hurt you anymore. The only thing that can hurt you from that trauma is the thoughts and the memory that you have of that event. And as you take yourself there, and I do this a lot with clients, as I take you back, as you go back to those moments that you think are just so painful and they hurt so much. And then you snap yourself back to the present, where you're at right here, October 14th, 2021. You realize that in those moments you had pain, but you don't have to have the pain anymore. You don't have to have the fear anymore, because the only thing that's going to bring that about is a memory, is the thought, is the fear of the event that transpired. You've already made it through it. So the only way that it can impact you now is in your thought process. And what we do is we'll work to continue to expose yourself. Expose yourself to those moments. And realize that the only way they're affecting you right now is if you go to that place. You have control. You have control. And when you realize that you have control and you start to gain more and more control, that fear, that pain, that hurt starts to decrease. And as a result, what happens is your anxiety, your depression starts to decrease. You're able to put yourself in a place where you feel like you have control. It's a very powerful place to be. And that's how exposure therapy works. Because it allows you to be able to say, I'm in control of my life. These events do not control me. They happen to me, but they've built me into the person that I am now. And so many times when we think about trauma and we think about the different things that we've gone through, we feel like it's out of our control. We feel like we are spiraling because we don't feel like we have any sense of control. And then you start to feel helpless, and you start to feel sad, and you start to feel in a place where you really get to a dark place. Those of you guys that followed along through that journey, going back to that traumatic event and snapping back and realizing that the only thing that's affecting you is those memories and those negative thoughts. I'd love to hear about the journey. I'd love to hear about what that was like for you. Yeah, it was a surface one. I didn't dive into a full hour or 45-minute long session about it. But to be able to just remind yourself that the pain and the hurt now comes just from the memory, just from the negative thoughts associated with it. That person, that thing can't hurt you now. It's already happened. It's in the past. Don't give it another day. Don't give it another minute. Don't give it another hour. Understand that you are in control. You are in control of your emotions. You are in control of your thought process. That's what we're here for. And as we build it together, and as you gain more and more control over your thought pattern, you are going to be able to find yourself self-correcting, like we talked about. And that's when you can really look yourself in the mirror and be like, yeah, I got this. I got this.